So first of all, welcome to all webinar attendees. This is the LeapSpace presentation on its products and services. We'll try to give a pretty broad overview of everything the company does and a little bit of its history and some recent accomplishments. So here we are in the virtual SmallSat conference on 3rd August. And this is LeapSpace, the ground segment as a service. And I'd like to briefly introduce my colleague, Jay, who is the Americas Business Development Lead. And I'm Edward. I manage LeapSpace regulatory affairs of LeapSpace's activities. So this will be a approximately 30-minute presentation followed by some questions and answers if there are any. So a quick introduction. LeapSpace is an Italian company based near Milan. It was founded by 3 students from the Polytechnic University of Milan in 2014 with the aim of creating a network that could be shared, a shared network of antennas for satellite telecommunications. The first investment round closed in July 2016, followed by a Horizon 2020 grant in 2018. And during the first 3 years, the company developed its first 4 ground stations, which are spread throughout Europe. And to quickly go over the office network and the global infrastructure, the headquarters is 20 minutes north of Milan in a town called Lomazzo. The 4 ground stations are located in Italy, Spain, Ireland, and Lithuania. And a 5th ground station has just been completed in the Azores. So I'm going to go to a slide showing the world map in a minute, but I want to first point out some of our recent accomplishments. We have recently launched a memorandum of understanding with the SmallSpark Space Systems based in the UK. With this partnership, we will be able to jointly submit bids for a range of space-related projects based in the UK, working closely with SmallSpark, which is an aerospace development actor. So we also have 2 recent partnerships, which we're working on right now with Phoenix Launch Systems based in Nevada in the US, and the Agnicool's launch vehicle of Anniban based in India. So with these 2 partnerships, we will be providing the ground support for the 2 respective companies' launch vehicles. And in the latter case, in the case of Phoenix Launch Systems, we will also be able to offer our ground support systems, the ground communication systems as a service for that launch provider's satellite clients. So moving on, we have also very recently signed a partnership with SciSec. This is a cybersecurity company that focuses specifically on the SmallSat sector and other security domains, but they're largely focused on satellite communications. They are based in Lausanne, and we're very excited to be working with them in the coming months and years. And we are also very happy to have a large backlog right now of 20 satellites, which we're waiting to service upon their launch. And also the last point I'd like to make is we very recently finished an investment round just a few weeks ago. So we also have some further announcements, which we will be making through press releases later in the week. So for the global infrastructure development, we're looking at the map of the world, and here we have 3 different classes of stations. So in dark blue, we have the existing stations. In the Atlantic there, you can see the most recent ground station, which is on the Azores on the island of Santa Maria. Moving eastwards, we have a station near Cork in Ireland. Then in the south of Spain, in a city called Puerto Llano. Then we have the station which is located near our headquarters, which is why I've given it a red circle, in a city called Vimercate in the north of Italy. And then heading northeast in Europe, there is a station in Kaunas, Lithuania. So then there's the next class of stations. These are the short-term or in-development stations. To be clear, these are not stations that we are evaluating or researching. These are stations that are already deeply in development, and the contractual negotiations are at an advanced stage, and in some cases, actual construction activities are beginning. So moving west to east again, we've got 2 sites in Canada. One is in Alberta, the other is in Toronto. We have a site that we're working on in Iceland. Then in the green dot, you can see in between Greece and Turkey, that's going to be a location near the Black Sea in Bulgaria. Heading straight south, or nearly straight south, we have a site that we're working on in Botswana. Moving eastwards again, there are a couple sites we're looking into and working on in Sri Lanka. And then we've got Western and Central Australia, and also a site in the south of New Zealand. And this site, I believe, is very close to the premises of the Rocket Lab launch facility. So then long-term, once these short-term and in development stations start to come to maturity, we have long-term missions that we're also working on. And so these stations are set to be in Argentina, in Chile, and then in Japan. So moving on. There's a point I want to address related to these stations, which is that, of course, you can see that they're all in different countries around the world, and this raises a unique challenge that LeapSpace faces compared to other space operators. So we have to license the ground stations in all of these countries. And in all of the different jurisdictions in the world, there are, when you take a broad view of it, very comparable regulatory procedures. But of course, in the details, in the different countries, you have actually different procedures and application processes. So for all of these locations, we perform this ground station licensing work. And I can say we do it for the client in a sense, because the client comes to us typically managing their own space segment licensing and regulatory obligations, whereas we are handling all aspects of the ground segment, and this includes the ground station licensing for each particular location. And of course, if a client does approach us in advance of a launch and is interested in having their space segment regulatory work managed for them, we can handle those tasks as well. So moving on to the next slide, I would like to quickly go over our customers and customer cases. So just to briefly describe who our clientele, what they look like. So as you can see from the logos at the bottom of the screen, the vast majority are satellite operators, but there are some exceptions. So what are those exceptions? As noted in the recent accomplishments, we have these 2 agreements moving forward with launch operators. So in these cases, we will be providing tracking services. And as noted with the Phoenix launch provider, we will be offering our services through a partnership with them to their own satellite clients. But as you can see, the majority of the clients here are just traditional satellite operators. And by traditional, I mean they're launching missions that remain in orbit for a long period of time to perform missions such as Earth observation or experimentation or communication services. So to give a few specific examples, just moving from left to right, we can see Astrocast. This is a satellite Internet of Things services provider based in Lausanne, and they are working aggressively right now on launching their constellation. Below that, another very interesting example is Link, which is working on a very exciting concept of developing the same type of cellular infrastructure that we have in terrestrial cellular networks, but housing that in a constellation of satellites. So moving rightwards, you can see the name Nanoavionics. This is a satellite platform developer. So they are capable of developing platforms that meet a wide range of mission needs. And then let's look at Kleos. Kleos is a client which is developing a very unique service in which they perform reconnaissance of RF signals, the propagation of RF signals on Earth. And they provide services in relation to these reconnaissance activities of the RF signals. Below them, you can see the name Pixel. This is a company founded by a group of guys from India who are working on remote sensing activities. So they're developing a remote sensing constellation. You can also see D-Orbit and Momentus, who are working on 2 different competing in-orbit transportation services. And then we have also provided services to institutional partners. So you can see the names ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, the European Space Agency, and Telespazio, which we do consider an institutional actor. So overall, we can say that the vast majority of our customers are in the private industry class, but we do have these institutional actors that we occasionally work with, and we're excited about some future projects that we're working on right now, putting together with other institutional actors. So at this point, I can say that for these topics, please feel free to ask questions. And right now, I will be passing the virtual floor to my colleague, Jay, who will discuss in detail the products and services themselves. So the floor is yours, Jay.
Thanks, Edward. Everyone, thank you for joining. I'll be talking about the various products and services that are offered by LeapSpace, and then I'll also touch upon some of our near-term vision as to where we are going from here. What do we offer currently, where we are going, and how we see the market developing. Edward, if you don't mind, can you put on the next slide, please? So the very first and the key offering that LeapSpace offers is LeapLine. What LeapLine is a distributed network of ground stations that are fully managed, and these are multi-mission ground stations. That means one ground station can serve multiple clients. It can be simultaneous, or it can be one after the other. So the antennas, which is a fixed quantity, 1 or 2 or 3 antennas, or even more per the ground station site, they handle a pass from one customer, and then they are again stored into position, and they are prepared for the next pass, which may occur after a few minutes, which may occur after a few hours for the next customer based on the satellite orbit. So we fully manage those connections for our satellite operators, whereby the satellite operators or our customers do not have to make any decisions. In that way, they are fully managed. They're fully managed by us. We monitor them 24/7. We operate them 24/7. We take inputs from a customer, such as what is their SLA, how many passes they need on a daily basis or a monthly basis, and we will manage those passes for them and provide them the data that they need. So we support real-time telemetry, and telecommand, which is the customers might want to check on the satellite health, or they might want to send commands to the satellites. So we fully support integrations with the mission control systems that allow them that degree of flexibility during a pass. We also handle payload downlinks for them, and then process the data and send it to their endpoint or wherever they want it delivered. So the delivery endpoint could be, they may want the data to terminate in the cloud. We would send it to the cloud. They may want to terminate the data in the private data center, and we can do that too. And this is all real time. There's no, we handle store and forward too, but most of our customers prefer real time, so that we handle that on our ground stations. And the types of customers we handle for these operations is satellite operators, naturally, and then also launch vehicles. So launch vehicles we support through the ascent down the launch corridor, the trajectory down the launch corridor through our distributed ground stations, as well as descent of the rockets. So at that time, we are collecting telemetry information from the rocket, passing it on to their NOCs. Our architecture is extensible, so we use the cloud for our scheduler. So fully flexible automated network scheduler which automatically handles capacity over our distributed network. And the more ground stations we turn on, we make operational in different parts of the world. Our architecture, our engine will automatically handle that capacity from those ground stations as well. For the pricing, we have a very simple and flexible pricing, and it's a very competitive pricing as opposed to as compared to different ground station as a service providers. And not only that, we operate in the full spectrum of UHF, VHF, S and X frequency bands. Next slide, please, Edward. Now, the satellite operators are often faced with a conundrum that, you know, once they launch 25, 30, 35 satellites or even more, the pay-as-you-go service that we are offering for ground infrastructure is, you know, gets cost prohibitive even at those levels. Plus, the number of passes that they want from the satellites, there's so much overlap that it just makes sense for them to have a dedicated antenna for just assigned to take passes on the satellites for the satellites. So we have come up with an innovative leaf key offering whereby we install the antennas at locations that are preferred by them, and you know, they're fully dedicated to them. So no other customer shares those antennas. It's only for the satellite constellations. The SLAs, that way we can guarantee an SLA. That way they can be assured that, you know, they won't skip a pass. The best part of this is the pricing is really disruptive. It really lowers the OpEx per pass for them. So if they're used to paying, for an example, if they're paying $5 per minute, it brings it down almost by 60%, 60 to 70% per pass for that size of the constellation. So you know, customers who are starting off with 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 satellites with us, we provide them a path forward once they go beyond a certain size of constellation, whereby it reduces the costs, the ground infrastructure costs, even further. And LeafKey, you know, use the same scheduling engine, which is automated and network based. Next slide, please. The other service that we offer is, you know, during the critical phases of the launch, when the satellite has been deployed into orbit, and you know, it has not received the NORAD ID yet. So at that point of time, till that NORAD ID is assigned, we provide 24/7 tracking for the satellite operators, whereby we track the satellites, we enable communication for the customer with the satellites, whereby they can you know, check the satellites' health, open up the solar sails, check out the subsystems, fire up the propulsion, and do a variety of mission critical tasks at that point of time before they get into the operational mission and operational orbits. So the way our LEOPS work is it enables rapid, we ingest TLEs at a rapid pace from the customer's mission control center, and allow them to commission or reach to their or identify their satellite quicker. All this with our global network, which will be even more effective when we expand to different continents. Next slide, please. So the other differentiator for LeafSpace is that we control costs by developing and manufacturing our own antennas. We not only manufacture our own antennas, we manufacture or we develop our own software-defined radios, the transceivers that go at the base of the antenna. That gives us so much flexibility into standing up a new ground station. It really reduces our costs for installing and deploying a ground station, and we pass that cost on to the customers, or those savings on to the customers. Also, as a result of that, because we have control over the entire ground station, we manufacture the entire ground station ourselves. We sell it to our customers as well. We customize it to their specifications. So if customers have a need to deploy an antenna at their premises, they're able to order an antenna or the complete ground station from us. The only thing they'll need to provide is power and connectivity, and we'll do the rest. We'll bring in the antenna, we'll install it, deploy it, we'll manufacture, ship it, we'll handle all the logistics. We'll configure it for the customer. It comes with all the necessary hardware and software components built in, and it also has all the software-defined radios already in it. The other thing we offer to the customers for this offering is a very disruptive lease model, where they don't have to pay anything upfront for the antenna. It's just like, for the iPhones. Right now, you don't have to pay for your iPhone upfront. You can choose for a 24-month lease and pay in increments of 24 months. Similarly, we have come up with a very disruptive pricing model for the antennas, which makes it much easier for the customer to adopt their own ground stations, and turn that capex operational expense into an operational expense, and they just pay month by month over the duration of 5 years or 10 years, depending on the length of the lease. Edward, next slide, please. In addition to that, we provide a host of consulting services because we have a lot of expertise in-house. We provide site management services. We have provided site management services to our customers who are in need of sites, who have their own ground stations due to their own particular requirements. We have helped them discover sites in specific countries. We have helped them with hosting, installation, spectrum regulation requirements, dealing with licenses, dealing with the local laws worldwide. So we provide those site management services as well as antenna hosting. We also provide separately, we provide regulatory and licensing support for both the ground and space systems for customers in their own countries, be it US, dealing with FCC, NTIA, NOA, and NOAA, or ITU internationally, or even with local countries. We have a ton of expertise. Edward being the main one here, who handles most of the support for us. And then we also have, a vast engineering experience, and our team comes from an aerospace background. So they're very, I would say, experienced in DSP development, antenna development, RF analysis, site surveys, studies. We recently won a study for satellite-based IoT tracking from ESA that we are partnering with certain companies on, and effectively track COVID patients in remote areas of the world, starting with Italy. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's next? What are we working on next? What's keeping us busy? Ton of stuff. So we are expanding geographically. We have 5 or 6 more stations coming up, as Edward alluded to earlier, and we are working on an end-to-end cybersecurity implementation with SciSec, our partner. We are also developing a rapid or a faster LEOPS service. Usually a LEOPS session would run anywhere from like 2 to 6 or to 8 weeks. We will be further reducing that through deploying state-of-the-art identification procedures and new features. The other thing that we are actively working on through our partnerships with launch service providers is active launch vehicle tracking. So we are working on a next generation of mobile and deployable ground stations due to so many spaceports opening up, and there's so many options opening up for launch vehicle providers that they can, pack up the rocket, take a few trailers anywhere in the world, and be able to get to the spaceport, build their vehicles and rapidly deploy the ground station without needing additional infrastructure in place. So we have a good demand for this product, and it's under development right now. So we hope to release it in the next few months. We're also working on higher frequency band support. We are seeing satellite operators increasingly move to higher bands, take advantage of more bandwidth. We have Ka and Ku frequency band under development. So we'll have a next generation of antennas, and early next year that will have this support. And then we're also working with a few customers on different orbits, ranging from MEO, medium Earth orbit, to GEO, to lunar missions, as well as deep space projects.
So at this point, we'd like to open. Oh, please go ahead, Jay.
No, I was like, this is the end of that was the end of my slides. We'll open the floor to questions. So please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A.
And we can also open up to allow the speakers to actually talk in their microphones if they would like to send us a message in the chat box if you would wish to communicate like that. So Jay, looks like we have one first question from Graham. So I'll read it out for everyone's benefit. Have you looked into the ground station communicating with satellites with light, like in fiber optic cable? There are issues with the atmosphere, etc., but it could potentially be fast. Thanks.
Yeah, I can take that if you want,
okay.
Edward. Yes, certainly. Fiber optic, I mean, is the next generation. It enables, higher data rates. Definitely, it is a bit, factored by the atmosphere right now. But we are looking into those options. That is on our radar to introduce hybrid architectures in our ground stations, both RF and optical support, because we are seeing a trend where satellite operators, they have both RF and optical transceivers or communication on board the satellites, and depending on the weather, they may choose to go with one or the other. So we are working towards that. I would say it's still on the horizon, but we have partnered with a few entities who are experts in optical communications. We are looking at ways to enable that on our ground stations.
And I'd like to add, from the regulatory perspective, the topic of free space communications is very interesting right now, because any operators that do develop that technology and actually implement it for their commercial or operational or experimental activities, they are doing that in a regulatory environment that is very undeveloped. So the message I would like to transmit is that if you get into these activities, if you're performing communications using open space or free space laser-based communications, you may have the opportunity to have your systems grandfathered into the future regulations which may come. And you may also have a chance, by being a pioneering actor, to participate in the definition of the regulatory framework. So it's a very exciting time for that particular branch of communications technology.
All right, so it looks like there are no other open questions. So I guess we'll adjourn for the day. I think I saw one. Thank you, Graham. Also, I would encourage you to check out our two other presentations tomorrow and day after, where we touch upon the cost structures and the differences for adopting a ground segment as a service, as to why you should go with the ground segment as a service, as opposed to standing up your own. That session is tomorrow, and day after is our session on LeapSpace and SciSec, which is our cybersecurity partner, to learn more about end-to-end cybersecurity that we are implementing in our network.
Okay, well, thanks very much to all those who participated. If you need to get in touch, you can reach the company website easily at leaf.space. You can also reach the general email address at info@leaf.space. And if you're interested in speaking directly with me or my colleague Jay, You can find our email addresses right here on the screen open right now. So thank you very much, and we wish you a good evening in Utah or wherever you are.
Yeah, feel free to get in touch. We have our emails. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. So more than happy to get on a call and chat with you guys.
All right, thanks, and have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.